Star, peace and love. It's good to see you. It's been a minute. I want to jump back on here to let you know that I'm actually now on TikTok. It's Dar, D-A-R, spiritual teacher, and I do a lot of short stories on there, mainly Bigfoot stories, but I also do paranormal and UFO and really all kinds of stories of the unusual and unexplained. So if you have a story that you want to share, please feel free to go on TikTok and send me a message, or you can even shoot me a message on here. But today I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about, well, things that we don't believe in for whatever reason. We're raised to think that they're not real or they're just stories. I do Bigfoot stories on TikTok because I believe that Bigfoot is indeed a real being, and nobody's going to convince me otherwise. I know when we were kids that, my age range from the time I was a young kid, and I was born in the late 60s, I grew up watching Unsolved Mysteries and, Loch Ness Monster stories and Bigfoot stories and paranormal stories. So I've always had a belief in them. And I've always believed that there are other creatures and entities outside of the human race. And I think we're seeing more of that now than we've ever seen in my lifetime. And I'm noticing that people are changing more now, too. There's more people who are in touch with their spiritual being. And those are people that you'll see that other people think are crazy, or they call them crazy, when in fact they're not crazy. Because think about it, there's no really good explanation as to what causes certain mental illnesses like schizophrenia or bipolar, those type of things, where people seem to hallucinate or don't seem to be, quote unquote, normal in society. I believe those folks have a connection to their spiritual side that many of us don't have, that we're either lacking or we just don't know how to get in touch with that side. And I want to start by saying, you are more than just a human being. You are a spirit living in a human body. And that spirit lives forever and has lived forever. And I think the point of us being in this body is to reach a higher plane spiritually. And I think for a lot of folks, what stops them is them living in the human body 100% of the time. They don't understand the spiritual realm. They don't understand anything outside of it. They're very connected to their body and how it feels and what they can do to feel good, whether that is, drugs, alcohol, sex, eating, whatever. But all those different things, I'm not saying are bad things necessarily, because we all indulge in the human body. My main thing, I think, with humans is we have not learned how to protect our children in a way that takes us to a higher plane, because people are still sexually abusing kids and others are standing by, so that makes them just as culpable as the people that are doing it. And that really includes all of us, even outside of all the culpability of some folks that are closer to it. Us outside of it need to do and say something. We need to talk about it more. Because when you die, and I've said this many times, I promise you, you are going to feel every single bit of hurt that you ever caused anyone in your life. Unless, I believe, you ask for forgiveness while you're still in this body and you do things to rectify that. But if you do not, I promise you will feel every bit of pain you've ever caused anyone. And I mainly speak to people who have caused pain to children, especially sexual pain. Something kids should not be introduced to by an adult. It's a hideous act, and nobody, no adult, should be using a child for sex. And we have the Epstein files. I'm sure everybody's well aware of that. And I'm not going to get political on here. I'm just not going to. I find it's all theater. It's all drama. But I do believe with the Epstein files, I think everybody's pretty much on the same page. We're tired of young people being abused and used like sex toys by men, and I'm sure it happens with women, but it's mostly by men. And we need to stand up and we need to make that shit stop, because I promise you, people are not going to reach a higher plane unless they start to stand up for what's right. And we have to protect the kids, and we have to protect that child that's living in that adult who went through that as a kid, who is still feeling pain and suffering from that, because the damage can be really terrible in many cases. And it's sad that it still exists. Our laws are just antiquated when it comes to that. If I go out and rob a bank right now, they're sticking my ass in jail for 20 years. Somebody else goes out and molests or rapes somebody's child, I promise you, they're not spending 20 years. So we need to change that together. And I think once we start to do that as beings, spiritual beings, we'll start to rise to a higher state in our spiritual lives and our spiritual bodies. Well, really, that's all I wanted to touch on today. I don't want to get into too much of that, and you'll be like, oh, Dara, that's all you ever want to talk about. But, listen, I'd love to tell some stories on here as well. So if you have a Bigfoot story, a Dogman story, any paranormal type of story that you want to share, you are more than welcome to email me or shoot me a message on here. I promise you I read them and I'll take a look. And I'd love to have you tell me about it, or I'd love to tell your story. Again, I'm on TikTok telling Bigfoot stories specifically. And that's at Dara Spiritual Teacher, and you can pull that up and you can hear my stories on there. I've even got my little Bigfoot buddy who hangs out with me. So I'd love to see you on there. All right, guys, it's great to see everybody. I hope everybody's doing amazing. And I love you. Peace and love. I hope everybody's doing really well. Peace out.